Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Just Make It Pretty podcast. Today, we are having a conversation about how visualization and VR is really changing our industry and how we can create more immersive experiences and just how that's changing the way buyers discover and connect with our homes and with us as builders. Welcome to the Just Make It Pretty podcast, the slightly unhinged marketing podcast for home builders and beyond. I'm your host, Sarah Haynes, also known as the Pixel Wizard, and my goal is to tackle the tough stuff that goes in behind the scenes in marketing and offer actionable tips, creative insights, and a little bit of humor to spark some creativity. I'm so glad you're here. Now let's get started. So I'm really excited to talk about this topic today. I think there's so much innovation happening and things change so quickly that this is going to be a really interesting conversation for everyone. So stick around for that and we will get right into it. So today joining me is Nathan Nasseri, founder of ResVR, and he is going to be talking to us today about his platform and how he is changing the world of home building. So Nathan, thank you so much for joining us today.
My pleasure, Sarah. Very happy to be here.
Awesome. Before we start diving into all the future things and all the visualization tools and all of that, I'd like to go back a little bit and talk and have you introduce who you are, where you come from, how did you get into this business, and just give us the history of you and ResVR.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm a giant home building nerd. My family has actually built 20,000 homes in Alberta. So I just grew up around the industry. And I actually spent most of my education, professional life working in the video game industry. And it wasn't until I just got burnt out working in the gaming space that I decided that I wanted to get into the family business. I started working in home sales, became one of their top performers, worked there for a number of years where I sold over 200 houses. And that was when I just felt this constant pain point of my customers where they couldn't really understand what they were buying. There's thousands of decisions that they're making in a very short time frame, and there's really no visual ways that they can understand what they're getting other than like small product samples or the show home, or sometimes there's Matterport tours, but it really doesn't paint a full picture for these buyers. Obviously, I'm very privileged with my background and my upbringing. Like I can visualize pretty much anything in my head, but that's actually a superpower that builders get. And that's something you develop through working in the industry. So I think that as an industry, we often forget like, what was it like on your first day when you didn't know how to read a blueprint or you couldn't visualize a flat lay design sample in your brain of what that's going to look like for a whole kitchen? So that's what we're really here to do, is to make it a lot more easy for people to envision themselves in their future home and personalize it and really do what the automobile industry has done a great job of doing, which is designing your dream car on a website and then understanding what that's going to cost and being able to go into a showroom and then make that purchase.
Yeah. So when I was, like I said, before we started recording, your name was brought up to me several times as someone that I really needed to talk to for the podcast because of all of this visualization is all kind of new and everything's coming out that's about how buyers want more immersive experiences all the time. And one of the things that I kept hearing when I was like talking about, I'm going to have Nathan on the podcast, they were like, oh, do you need goggles to like make this work? Is this like the actual, like you put on the goggles and you like walk through the house? Is that what this is? Or is this something completely different?
So it is a misleading part of our name that this is a very nerdy point of topic for me, but virtual reality is basically a virtual reality. So that could be a video game, that could be an educational experience, an immersive experience. It doesn't actually have to be like with the goggles. So the goggles in the VR industry, we call them head-mounted displays, but that's not very sexy. That doesn't sound like something you would want to do. So the industry, the virtual reality industry, adopted the name VR and did a very great marketing campaign of adopting VR as being synonymous with putting on goggles and then you're in a different world. What we do is technically virtual reality, but the virtual reality is your house. And instead of putting the goggles on, you actually experience it through a web browser. So that's been a big thing for us. Is where I actually started was virtual reality with the headsets. So while I was still selling houses is when VR first made its splash into the market, and I loved it. I became an expert in it. I learned everything about VR, and that was what my first startup was a world leader at doing. Unfortunately, this was back in 2018 and 2017 when things were really kicking off for that company. The idea was like, hey, in 2025, everyone's going to have a headset and everyone's going to be working and living in these headsets and everyone's going to be doing everything in VR. And here we are in 2025, and we know, nope, that's definitely not the case. No one's using VR for pretty much anything. And another big thing happened, which was COVID. So the last thing you'd want to do is go into a showroom or a show home and then share a headset where you don't know where it's been. Maybe that's even the first time you've had a VR experience at all. And it's really not good for the sales process. Like it's very actually disruptive to the sales process. Our software is experienced 100% through the cloud on a web browser. It lives on the builder's website. It's fully white labeled as the builder's solution. So the VR is just because if you really ask me like, Nathan, what sounds cooler, Res 3D or Res VR? And I'd be like, Res VR sounds way cooler than Res 3D. So that's essentially what we do.
That's awesome. Yes, I think at this point, like having the headsets and all of that, it's like a cool thing, but it's not, it's definitely is a barrier for people. And I think it's funny. I feel like we're going to be looking back at all of this and so we thought we were going to have flying cars. It's like we thought everybody was wearing goggles everywhere. No, they're going to build it into our glasses and make it look cool.
Exactly. Yeah. And even then, who knows? Who knows?
Who knows? Yeah.
I paid to not have to wear glasses for laser eye corrective surgery. So I can't imagine paying money to put glasses back on.
That's so funny. Yeah, I know. Those, I wish I had those surgeries. I have not had my eye surgery yet, but I would still pay to do it.
It's absolutely worth it. Best money I've ever spent.
Yeah. I want to dive into kind of the evolution of visualization. You shared already what inspired you to build this platform and how you feel like it's changing our industry. So what do you feel like led to that shift of buyers wanting and expecting more immersive products and like they want to be able to visualize things differently now? How do you think that like expectation has shifted?
I mean, it's on TV. It's if you watch any home improvement show, The Property Brothers, anything on HGTV, basically always shows this nice animation or rendering of that person's home shifting into what Jonathan or Drew Scott are speaking to and saying, hey, we're going to bump out the kitchen here. We're going to knock this wall down. And instead of them just talking about it, there's a cool animation playing over top of it. So I think as consumers, when you see that, and those shows have been on for over 15 years at this point. So people see that and look at the technology we have around us right now, where you can visualize anything for the most part and see it before you buy it. And home building is still behind this shrouded mystery of it's these construction plans and it's these samples and this is going to come together and make your house look phenomenal. And the customer just says, can't you show it to me? Is there any way you could show this to me? No, there is no way I could show it to you. And I mean, these aren't people like going and buying shoes or like buying a hat. Like they're making the biggest purchase of their lives. And everything else in our consumers society says you should be able to see this before you get it. So that's essentially what we're doing as well. Like we're taking a different approach than what's been tried and true in the industry before, which is called renderings. And renderings is just a job that's being done if you really want to get into the definition of rendering. But as an industry, we started calling like 3D renderings. And then there was like Matterport style renderings or 360 renderings. And then you could render those renders with different color palettes. What we do, it's actually like using gaming technology. So the same way that you would design your dream home in The Sims, or if you're playing a video game and you're like deciding what your character is going to look like at the beginning, what color eyebrows do you have? What's the skin tone? Are you like an elf or a human? all these things that you're deciding as deciding which character you're going to be, we're doing the exact same thing for your house. And the exact same thing that you can do with any major car company's website right now is you can go online, you can decide what rims you want, what tires you want, what's the inside going to look like? Is it cloth? Is it leather? What's the stitching on it? And we do the exact same thing, but for the home, which is probably a billion times more complex than a car, but it's still something that I think people deserve. And it's really what customers expect today. And I would also say, like, people are busier today than any time in human civilization. This is a known fact. And my favorite question to ask a builder is, would you buy a house from yourself today, like right now? And unanimously, they're like, I am way too busy to drive to show homes and talk to salespeople and go through the buying process. But for some reason, we're still expecting our customers to go and do that. So what we do is simplify it. We put it online so customers can do this 24 hours a day and not be limited by the show home hours, because that's really the brick and mortar aspect of buying a home. Is if you have to go and actually talk to someone to even start the process, that is probably off-putting to more than half of the market.
Yeah. Not to mention, a lot of our home builders are relocating, or a lot of our home buyers are relocating. So it's like they can't physically go into your model. They have to
Exactly.
do this online. And that is, I've never bought a home that way, but it scares me just thinking about it, because all of those unknowns, you can't see anything in person. And you're really trusting like what this guy on the phone is telling you, and a few pictures. That I think is a huge opportunity for this to be just really change that whole process for our relocation buyers.
Yeah, and it is still, whether you're relocating or just your house doesn't work for you anymore, you're downsizing, you're having a baby, you need something that's permanent, that's built for you. You don't want to go through the process of renovating. You want to have a home that's fully warranted and doesn't have toenails in the carpet. There's a lot of reasons why people would absolutely prefer to build a home, but the process is so time consuming that a lot of buyers just end up saying, I give up. Like, I don't have time to go and shop for a home and look at all these different models. The only tool that's been super successful for builders, which is why they do it, is you build a show home. And people walk through a beautiful show home and they're like, that's probably 60% of what I sold when I was selling houses. They would walk through the show home and be like, you have the best show home in this parade. I want this. Okay, let's build it for you. They don't go through and then they look on the wall and they're like, actually, I want to see that model. And even if we had that built, I'd be like, why don't you get in your car, drive to the other side of the city, look at that model, then get back in your car, drive back over here and talk to me. That's basically like telling the customer, like, I don't want to do business with you, versus allowing them to do this on their time on the builder's website, or even in the show home. You could pull up those different models and you could start personalizing it for that customer, showing them different structural options, different countertops, backsplash, and really making them feel like that's the dream home that I have in my mind. Because all customers have a vague idea in their mind of what they want, but it's the builder's job to connect those and make sure that the customer wants to go ahead with that purchase.
Yeah, they're going to have so much more confidence that you are going to be able to build a home that they are going to really love. And I
Yeah.
think it's a really important thing we think about a lot in marketing, is like, how can we build trust and build connection and make them feel confident in us and make them feel like they know us in this like short window of time with like our website and our social media. There's a lot of things that we're trying to build with our buyers before they even talk to our sales team. So having a tool like this would be really powerful, in my opinion, because that kind of takes some of that. They are able to build their own story in this home, and they're able to see it just like they are when they're walking through. Not to mention, and this is a random thought, but it's funny how like the whole world is going to this gamification like
Yeah.
thing. Everything is a game now. And I think that even like you go shopping on like any website and the little pop-up comes up and it's, oh, spin the wheel for your discount. In your mind, this is just an animation. I'm not actually spinning something, but the number of people that actually do it increases so much just because it has an interactive element. So something so simple
Excellent
like
point.
that, like you just, this is like the coolest thing to a buyer. They want to click through these, like it's going to be a magnet for them.
Yeah, it's like it gives the builder a ton of valuable data as well. So we track everything every customer does through our software, and we give that data directly to the builder. So every click, every room that customer goes into, every model, every option, all of that's tracked. And as a salesperson, you can actually like log into your dashboard the next day and you could be like, hey, Sarah played with this for 3 hours last night. Maybe I should reach out to her and see if, hey, if you buy this week, like I can give you those $50,000 appliances that you love so much. I can give those to you for 50% off. Give the sales team an actual organic reason to reach out to the customer and help them along that journey instead of just buy a house right now. Buy. I want you to buy. Are you ready to buy? Instead, reach out and say, hey, I noticed you've been doing this. Here's something I could probably make that decision a little bit easier for you to move forward.
Yeah, that whole process is now much more personalized as well. You don't have to figure out all of those things. What did you like? You're like, oh, I know that you like this cabinetry color because that's what you were looking at last night on our website.
Yeah, exactly. And then as a builder, which options are in trend, which ones are going out of trend, maybe even which models you want to retire and other models you want to sort of mimic or duplicate, modify slightly based off of what people are picking. Because now it's not just like I find there's this like feedback loop that builders get stuck into. It's, oh, we built this show home and it's like the oak model. And then people buy the oak model. So, oh, the oak model is really popular. Let's build another oak model show home, and it just keeps feeding into itself. That's like a big challenge for builders is like you don't really know what buyers want because they're going to buy based off of what you're showing them, which is generally what the show homes are. We're opening the opportunity where, hey, instead of building 10 show homes next year, maybe you build 9 and you have ResVR white label a software for your business that shows the rest of the model that you're offering.
Yeah. I I had a builder once and they had a whole model park. They built every one of their homes as a model. And it was for that
Yeah,
exact reason, because it's like, if we don't, we're not going to sell any of these. Like, we're only going to sell this one model because that's what people can actually walk through.
exactly. And they're still only showing one option you could do with those
Yeah,
model homes.
exactly.
So I've sold houses where people walk through the same show home and one's in a light theme and the other's in a dark theme. And they're like, oh, I hated that model. I would never buy that. And they walk through the other house, exact same model. And they're like, oh, that's a beautiful floor plan. I love that house. Like, I want to buy it. And I don't correct them and say, oh, actually, that's the same model, just different colors. I just tell them, like, yeah, absolutely. Let's write a deal. Let's make this happen. This could be your dream home. You could move into it. And I think because of my game design background and actually having been in the show home selling to people, I understand a lot of the consumer psychology and the sales psychology of like how you can get that customer to like inch forward along that process and really move forward in the funnel instead of just get frustrated at some point and just say, you know what? That house that's built down the street from where we're renting, that's for sale. Let's go buy that instead of have to drive 30 minutes to go meet with that builder every week for the next 6 months, or however many meetings it takes to actually get that deal closed. So it's also fascinating for me. Like I have such an affinity and an appreciation of home building. I would not go through the building process now either. Like I have, like between all the family activities that I have with our kids and everything that's going on in our lives, it's like, how would I possibly have the time to go and shop for a new home? Like that is absolutely out of the question. I'm lucky if I have time to do a virtual tour of a house at the end of the day on my phone. That's the extent of the amount of time I have. So I think the timing for it is really good because now builders can actually engage with buyers 24/7 instead of those limited show home hours.
Yeah. So for builders, let's take our focus, like we've really been focused on like the buyers and what benefits they see. Let's focus on the builders. What do you feel like are the biggest gaps that they have that this kind of fills? I think data, as you mentioned, is already one, but I know that you probably hear a ton of objections of, oh, how is this going to solve this problem? Or what about this thing? What are you feeling in terms of that when you're trying to bring this in for new builders?
So there's so many unknowns when we're working with a new client. So how we approach working with a client is we actually say we're going to do like a 5-month pilot, figure out what the scope of work is for that pilot. It's typically like 2 of their models. And then that gives us enough time to prove we can deliver what we've said we would. And at the same time, it allows the builder to figure out like, how do we actually want to use this technology? Because we don't come into a builder's organization and say, this is how you use it. we're more there to adapt to what their needs are. So sometimes builders say, I don't want this on my show home or on my website. I just want this in my show homes. Others are like, I want this in my showrooms, my show homes, and on my website. Other builders say, I want to make sure the customer has like a registration and an email address that I can reach out to them and talk to. And others are like, I don't care. Like, let people play with this. I don't want to put up any barriers to entry for that. So because of that, we approach each job differently. The inputs we get from the builders are always like the CAD files, their selection sheets, then we build that for them. And there's several rounds of iteration to make sure it's perfect. But ultimately, my family's background of building 20,000 homes is really, that's who I built ResVR for, was understanding like the builder's needs, and where we actually started with the genesis of the company, which was this is going to be in your show home and it's going to help you sell upgrades. That was really what we drilled down on and emphasized. And it's still very important, still a critical part of what we offer. Most builders see over $10,000 lift per buyer in upgrades. And we're in the industry, we know how easy it is to spend an extra $10,000 upgrading even just your kitchen or your bathroom. It's not difficult to spend that small amount of money, even though to most consumers, that is a big investment. So it's a scary number to hear $10,000 extra. But when you break it down into a monthly payment, all of a sudden it's, oh, I could afford that because I'm paying this off over 25 or 30 years. So it's not as scary as hearing $10,000 pay me right now. And also, I can't even tell you the number of customers. It's well over 100 that they see their house built and then they're like, why did we pick the standard option? Why didn't we upgrade our backsplash? Why didn't we upgrade our flooring? Like when they see it, they realize the mistake they've made, because if they can't envision it, the only thing they have information on to make the decision is the cost of it. So if one is like already included in your price and the other one's $10,000 and you're not really sure about which one to go with, you're going to go with the option that's less expensive every single time. So that's really where we started ResVR, was to make sure we have a measurable return on investment for our builders, that if they're paying $10,000 a month for our software, they're getting $100,000 a month in additional upgrades. So that was why I built the business, was actually to help my family sell those extra upgrades to customers, because it's not like they don't want them. It's not like they can't afford them. It's just they can't understand them. They can't envision it. And I think builders have like a subset of English where if we talk about like crown molding on your upper cabinet risers, that's something that maybe not a lot of people understand, but when you see it, it's like, look how good that looks. And then that's indisputable of, is that worth the extra $10,000 or not? So what's really shifted this year is us partnering with NVIDIA and deploying on the cloud. And also just the market has softened significantly, like probably the biggest that we've seen in well over 10 years. And customers have choices today. So if the choice is go through this like painful process with the builder, or buy something that's already available that I can get into and maybe get a $50,000 discount off the list price, that's what probably people are going to go and do. But if I can have a glass of wine with my wife and design our dream home and do that through several weeks or months and get invested more and more every time we go and do the next click, that's what the experience we would want to have. So when we show up to talk to the builder, it's, hey, this is the house we want. These are the options we want. We're just here to negotiate or sign the deal. That's where we're at. And I think that's why builders are actually open to technology right now, is they're not putting out fires like, hey, how do we build more homes next year? It's more, hey, we can't build more homes next year because we still have inventory to sell off right now. So where are some areas that we can save costs and create a more efficient process rather than just trying to build and build, which has been the problem for the last 10 plus years. It's just, we need to build and build. Now it's kind of stop building. Let's take a breath, see how do we actually improve our business right now.
Yeah. So for our listeners, we are going to be putting some video of this product, of clicking around, showing what this looks like, so you can also visualize what we're saying. So if you are listening to this on an audio version, please go over to YouTube. We have the full video there of all of our episodes, but we'll be inserting clips throughout this as well. Go check that out. And then for you, Nathan, I have my next question for you is, How can builders start like preparing for this and like to stay ahead as these kind of tools become more and more standard in our industry? What are some things that they should be thinking about right now?
That's a great question. First thing, you should talk to me. So
It's like,
reach out to me on LinkedIn. That's probably like a great step. Like all this stuff isn't new. Like we've
mm,
seen this before. This is on TV. Other builders have tried this. Really, our approach was like we wanted to build like a bespoke solution for the home building industry. So it's not actually like a rendering or a 3D animation. It's actually like more like a home configuration software, but it's not like using Revit or SketchUp or ArchiCAD or AutoCAD. It's like bespoke to that builder's catalog and those options. So yeah, every builder probably knows like a rendering company that could do like a 3D walkthrough or something like that. What really sets ResVR apart is the amount of configurations that you can do. Like it's insane. Like it's billions of combinations for every single model that we're making for a builder. So it really allows you to digitize your whole catalog and showcase everything that you can do. But really just do your own research, look at what Nvidia's doing. Like for us, we always look to what's going on in the video game industry and technology we could utilize there and bring that into the home building space. Obviously, builders can attempt to do this on their own internally. That's a direction some builders take. It's generally not what I would recommend. Maybe talk to an expert that can do it because it doesn't seem as complicated as it is at a surface level, but when you really dive in, and there's all this complexity of if you pick the melamine cabinets, it is not applicable with these cabinet handles. But if you pick the oak cabinets, you can have these handles. And then which finishes can you have on those handles? The rules and exceptions are incredibly complex to make sure that you're actually showing buyers exactly what they can get. And then there's the level of like ERP integration and CRM integration, which we also take care of for builders. It's something where it's like, if it was easy to do, it would exist right now. So it's the reason why it's 2025 and builders are still selling homes like they were in the 70s because that's a tried and true method. And I can't even tell you how many meetings I've been in, and builders are like, I've been doing it this way my whole career. Like, why would I change now? There's no reason to. And I often compare it to builders are selling water in the desert. And if you come along and you're like, hey, I have a cup, wouldn't that be great for your business? And they're like, no, we are like, everyone needs us. Like, we're there. Home building is not a want industry, it's a need industry. We are millions of homes short of where we need to be for affordability to actually balance out. Builders, up until maybe recently, have not needed to do anything because people kept coming back and buying homes and giving them money. And now is the first time in a long time where builders have had to take a beat and say, we can't build. We need to actually sell what we have before we go and start building. And there's actually like other elements that are coming into play as well, like offsite modular construction or robotic home construction, which are actually speeding up construction time cycles significantly. So now builders, because it's not going to take you a year to build something, maybe you're building something in less than 6 months. That also frees up your business quite a bit in terms of the carrying costs are reduced. And maybe you can shift from being more of a spec builder to a pre-sale builder. And this is technology that can really allow you to do that because you don't need to start building until a customer's actually said, I want to build this exact house with these materials. Getting started is as simple as going onto Fiverr and finding some guy to do it, or reaching out to me and getting a pro team to work on it. But I'm sure everyone knows the key players in the industry. There's not a lot of us, so it's not hard to figure out who you want to be working with.
yep. Yeah. I love what you said about the industry and like how we haven't necessarily done a lot of innovation because we didn't need to. And I think that's definitely true. And right now, I think there's a really big opportunity because now we are seeing like we need to start differentiating ourselves from other builders. And when people do end up coming on site, you've got to be able to show your buyers why you're different than that person right down the street. Like why, and they're going to start that whole process of deciding what builder to use online. So having
Yeah.
something like this also at this point, because it's not every builder has it yet, which I think at some point it'll be much more standard. But right now you're really going to set yourself apart from that other website that they were on because they can actually do so much more. They can see so much more. I've talked to a lot of sales and marketing leaders, and that's always one of the things that everyone's talking about. It's like, how do we differentiate ourselves? And I think we're not, a lot of builders aren't. So the more opportunities you have to do that, the better.
Yeah. And for builders, a lot of the time it's, oh, we differentiate by having more options and more choices, more flexibility. That's not what customers want. They want something that's fast, simple, straightforward. They understand what they're getting. There's no smoke and mirrors. Like having 1,000 different backsplashes to choose from doesn't make you a better builder. It just gives your customer like 1,000 more things to decide upon when they're actually trying to make these selections and move through that process. Visualization can obviously help that customer decide what are these 1,000 different backsplashes going to look in the context of my home. But maybe instead of needing to see all of them, they're like, I just want the hexagon shaped tiles. And what's that going to look like in my kitchen versus, oh, the hexagon ones are $8,000 more. So I'm just going to go with the subway tile backsplash because that's the cheap one that I know is going to look. Because how do you imagine one tile on 400 square feet of backsplash in your kitchen? Unless you've been to school as an interior designer, you cannot do that. People literally go to school to visualize how to do this stuff. And builders are like, oh, you've never built a house before? Come in and visualize your whole house off of these samples. We know
Yeah.
how to do it, so it must be easy for you. And up until rendering and technology started to bridge that gap, that's always been science fiction. But the issue, the key issue that consumers have seen this done in the automobile industry. You can design your dream car on Ford, on Porsche, BMW. You can do it on all of those. You can see what it's going to cost. You can even see potentially when you could get the car. And then consumers go to a builder's website and it's no pricing usually. Here's two-dimensional layouts. Here's a rendering of the outside of your house. Here's an interactive floor plan where the lines on the piece of paper on the screen are moving. That's not like painting a clear picture for anybody. And the expectation has been set by other industries where, hey, if you're spending over $50,000, we'll show you exactly what you're getting. And then people go to buy a home and it's, oh, just imagine it. It's going to be great. It's going to be so great. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. Oh, and it's amazing too, just talking about like tiles. You see it and it's like this 2 foot by 2 foot sample or something. And that looks so different when you put it on an entire wall. Like it changes the whole vibe.
Yeah.
And I made this mistake when I was building our home. We picked a backsplash that I was just like, I thought it was going to look great. It looked great on the little sample. Doesn't look like I thought it would. And now it's in there. So I think you're absolutely right with like how buyers want to be able to see these things. They are nervous going into this whole process anyway. They're spending a ton of money. And not to mention, half of us are so busy that we can't even have 3 meals a day. And this whole process is just a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. You're completely right. And the buyer remorse of this is something that's absolutely critical for builders to understand. You could do every single thing right to that customer, but if they get the wrong backsplash installed, that's different than what their brain has imagined, like in Sarah's example, that customer is now your worst enemy because they might say, that's not what I picked. You guys
Mhm.
made a mistake. And then the builder says, Sarah, these are your initials next to the tile that we installed. So actually, you made the mistake. It was your brain that made the mistake. And then for the rest of your days, you're going to say, that builder, they really screwed me. They put the wrong backsplash in. That's not what I picked. I know what I picked. I know what I picked, and that's not what I picked. And that takes a happy customer that was maybe going to refer something into, oh, don't ever buy from those guys. They'll tell that to everybody. Anyone that comes over, they'll be like, oh, wow, your house is beautiful. Yeah, except for our backsplash. And that's something that really drove me to start building this technology was I wanted more referrals and I wanted to make more commission on upgrades. And I was sick of hearing customers say, oh, Nathan, next time I build a house, I'm going to put hardwood on the stairs because that's something where it's like, hey, do you want to put your beautiful hardwood, your engineered hardwood on your stairs? Because I know, Sarah, when we had our initial appointment, you said, I hate carpet. I don't want carpet anywhere in my house. I hate vacuuming carpet. Things get stuck in it. It's the worst thing. I hate it so much. And then I tell you, it's actually going to be $20,000 to put hardwood onto your stairs. And you're like, you know what? I can live with carpet. The carpet's fine. It's okay. And then you see it for the first time and you're like, so how much to rip that out and put hardwood in? And then you just end up being stuck with your choice at that point because it's too late and you didn't know better until you saw it. And at that point, it's probably too late for you to make that change.
Yep. You never want your home buyers to have that one little thing that just perturbs them about their home every time they look. That's my backsplash for me. I'm like, oh, why did I do that every time I go in
Yeah.
there? This has been a really great conversation. Thank you for sharing all this. I feel like I know so much more about what you guys do and how it can really help builders. And I hope that our listeners get that same response, bring some new ideas for their marketing, their websites. So for those listeners that want to reach out to you, maybe you mentioned you're on LinkedIn. How else could they get a hold of you?
LinkedIn would be number one. Number two would be our website, which is resvr.com. And then you can book a meeting with me there. And what's the third way? I guess you could check out our YouTube channel. We post a lot of our work onto our YouTube channel. That's just resvr underscore. And yeah, we're on Instagram. I'm not on Instagram, so I don't know what's going on that platform. But yeah, you could probably LinkedIn's the best option to get a hold of me.
Perfect. All right. I will put all those links in the description box and I'll go check out that link, that Instagram and see what's happening. I'll let you know.
Okay, appreciate that. Thanks, Sarah.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for listening in today. Go check out Nathan. Go check our ResVR. Come back here for our next episode. And definitely, like I said before, check out our YouTube as well. This video is going to be one that's really going to help you understand and visualize what we're talking about. But I do videos of all of my episodes, so you can check out those as well. Come back next week. And thank you for listening. Thank you, Nathan, for being here. And we'll see everybody next time.
Thanks, Sarah. Bye, everyone.
Bye.